We are counting down the 15 luxury brands hit hardest after years of testing the limits of price tags. From iconic houses losing relevance to e-commerce giants filing bankruptcy and cult favorites watching resale values crater, each brand on this list reveals how overpricing, oversaturation, and changing customer values reshape the industry. Some faded quietly, others collapsed overnight. Which brand's downfall sets the stage for the biggest luxury crisis yet? Let's start at number 15. Mulberry once stood for understated British luxury, but a single decision changed its fate. In 2024, the brand hiked prices to match Louis Vuitton, betting that higher tags would elevate its status. Instead, sales dropped 21%, and the Alexa bag, once the crown jewel of the collection, began flooding resale sites for under $300. Mulberry's gamble backfired. The products became too expensive for everyday shoppers, and the brand lacked the global prestige to draw true luxury buyers. The result was a brand stranded in no man's land, with pristine bags piling up on the second-hand market and full-price customers disappearing. The numbers do not lie. When the gap between price and perceived value grows too wide, even heritage cannot save you. Salvatore Ferragamo built its reputation on craftsmanship, but that reputation could not shield it from the storm of 2025. The brand's fortunes plummeted as revenue from Asia, once its growth engine, took a sharp dive. By mid-year, Ferragamo's CEO abruptly resigned, leaving the company scrambling for direction. In boutiques, the story was no better. Bags that once commanded $2,000 now struggled to fetch half that on the resale market. Private sales became routine, with discounts so deep they barely covered costs. For a house that prided itself on quiet excellence, the silence became deafening. Without a story to capture new generations or a market to sustain old ones, even the finest leather and heritage could not hold Ferragamo above the tide of irrelevance. Bally, once a quiet symbol of Swiss refinement, now faces the reality of empty storefronts and warehouses brimming with unsold shoes. In 2025, the company began a steady retreat from the US and Europe. It closed stores as inventory stacked up behind closed doors. Classic loafers, once sold as heirlooms, now appear at 40% off in outlet bins. The brand's attempt to straddle old money restraint and Gen Z's appetite for boldness left it stranded. Even a new creative director, brought in with hopes of revival, departed in less than a year. The silence around Bally is not just about fewer customers. It is about a brand that lost its voice, unable to choose between tradition and reinvention, and now fading quietly from the luxury conversation. Tod's once defined Italian quiet luxury, but in 2025, the company delisted from the stock exchange, a rare move for a house of its caliber. Going private was a distress signal, not a strategy. Sales in China and Europe continued to erode, with once iconic driving loafers now discounted 30 to 50% as standard. While Tod's perfected subtlety and timelessness, rivals like Loro Piana captured the same aesthetic and made it aspirational for a new generation. The resale market tells the story. Beautiful, barely worn Tod's shoes and bags are trading hands at a fraction of their original price. Delisting was supposed to buy time for a turnaround, but in the world of stealth wealth, being overlooked is the final blow. Dolce & Gabbana's reputation has been battered by controversy after controversy, but headlines do not translate to sales when the product feels stuck in the past. The infamous 2018 ad campaign in China, featuring chopsticks and pizza, sparked global outrage, leading to boycotts and plummeting sales across Asia. The fallout lingered for years, with fresh scandals surfacing as recently as 2025. Yet the real problem runs deeper than bad public relations. While the world moved on to quiet luxury and subtle design, D&G kept pushing the same loud, maximalist look that once defined Italian glamour. Younger buyers now see the collections as relics of another era. On resale platforms, dresses that retailed for thousands routinely list for a few $100s, and bags struggle to hold even half their original price. Attention may be easy to buy, but cultural relevance is not. The market has made its verdict. Prada sits at a crossroads, balancing its legacy with the demands of a restless market. In 2025, the brand's quarterly sales swung sharply, one period up and the next period down, revealing a house struggling to find its footing. The problem isn't just external pressure. Prada's own strategy flooded the market with nylon bags and accessories, once a symbol of innovation but now so common that exclusivity has all but vanished. Stock-keeping unit counts ballooned, making the once coveted designs feel ordinary. The creative tension is clear. Miuccia Prada's vision has always set the brand apart, but relentless product drops and mass distribution have eroded the sense of rarity that luxury buyers crave. As Generation Z and seasoned collectors alike look for meaning in scarcity, Prada's challenge is to reclaim its mystique before ubiquity turns even the most storied names into background noise. Bottega Veneta stands apart from the wreckage by doing almost everything differently. There is no flashy logo, no influencer flood, and no endless rows of identical bags in every mall. Instead, the brand's signature is a quiet confidence, woven leather, limited runs, and a strict cap on how many pieces hit the market each season. That discipline pays off. Bottega Veneta bags barely lose value on the resale market, with some models holding close to their original price even after years of use. While competitors chase trends and oversaturate, Bottega keeps production tight and distribution even tighter. Buyers know they are getting something rare, not just expensive. This approach is not just about taste. It is about protecting the very thing luxury is supposed to mean: scarcity and quality, and lasting worth. In 2025, as logo-heavy brands struggle to hold attention, Bottega Veneta's blueprint proves that real exclusivity still has power. Jimmy Choo once defined the fantasy of luxury footwear, a name synonymous with red carpets and crystal-studded stilettos. But in 2025, the dream faded fast. Quarterly sales kept slipping, each report worse than the last. The shoes that once commanded $1,200 now crowd resale platforms for $150 to $200, barely moving even at those prices. The problem is not just about overpricing. It is about a world that moved on. Modern buyers crave sneakers and comfort, not sky-high heels designed for nights that rarely happen anymore. Warehouse shelves filled with unsold pumps tell the story. Too glamorous for daily life, too common to be exclusive. Capri Holdings, the parent company, watched as Jimmy Choo's category dominance crumbled. The resale glut is a warning. When a brand bets everything on a single fantasy and the culture shifts, there is no safety net. The era of the iconic party heel has ended, and Jimmy Choo is left behind. Versace's downfall reads like a warning for the entire luxury sector. Once a symbol of unapologetic glamour, the house now finds itself buried under its own weight. In 2025, sales tumbled by 21% under Capri Holdings. The culprit was relentless overproduction and a logo so loud it became invisible. La Medusa bags, once splashed across magazine covers, now linger unsold for months. Their price tags quietly slashed by half, but only for those invited to secret preview events. These client-only sales are designed to hide the desperation, but word spreads fast when inventory piles up and markdowns become routine. Versace's attempt to chase both exclusivity and mass appeal left it with neither. When everyone can spot the logo from across the room, the sense of luxury disappears. The result is a brand that confused noise for desirability and now pays the price in silence and surplus. Michael Kors wrote the playbook for how a luxury brand can destroy its own value. In 2025, parent company Capri Holdings reported a 16% drop in sales, with Michael Kors leading the slide. The logo that once meant status now signals a clearance event. Outlet malls across the US and Europe are jammed with racks of discounted Kors bags, many marked down by 70% or more. The brand's strategy of flooding the market backfired. When everyone owns the same bag, it is no longer special. Resale platforms paint an even bleaker picture. A $400 Michael Kors tote now struggles to fetch $60, an 85% loss in value that outpaces nearly every other major label. Shoppers have been trained to wait for red tags, and full-price customers are a distant memory. What was once accessible luxury is now just another fixture in the bargain bin. The Michael Kors story is not just about oversupply, it is about how a brand can discount itself out of relevance entirely. Gucci spent the last decade turning hype into an art form, but in 2025, the bill finally came due. Sales collapsed by 25%, wiping out billions in revenue for parent company Kering. The once unstoppable force behind maximalist fashion now finds its signature bags, once priced at $3,000 or more, lingering on resale sites for as little as $800. Even the most loyal customers, trained for years to chase the latest drop, have lost their appetite. Instead of waitlists, there are markdowns. Instead of sold-out signs, there are stacks of unsold inventory. The secondary market has become a graveyard for Gucci's greatest hits, with some styles losing 60 to 70% of their value in just 12 months. The cycle of constant price hikes and influencer saturation created a culture where buyers expect discounts as the default. When a brand built on hype loses its magic, the fall is not gradual, it is a free fall. Gucci's story is a warning. In the world of luxury, you can only push prices and pump demand so far before the market calls your bluff. Burberry, once the undisputed symbol of British heritage, now stands as a lesson in how quickly a legacy can unravel. In 2025, Burberry's operating profits collapsed by nearly 88%, a freefall that stunned even the most skeptical analysts. The root cause was not just external pressure or changing tastes. Over 8 years, the brand cycled through 6 creative directors, each bringing a new vision and leaving behind a trail of confusion. Logos flipped back and forth, from bold sans serif to classic knight, with each change erasing a bit more of what made Burberry distinct. Shoppers responded with indifference, turning away from trench coats that once defined the label's prestige. The iconic Burberry trench, which retailed for $2,500, now struggles to command even $500 on resale platforms, an 80% loss that speaks louder than any marketing campaign. Flash sales and deep discounts have become routine, eroding the sense of exclusivity that once justified the price. In the rush to reinvent, Burberry lost the thread of its own story, and the market delivered its verdict with brutal clarity. Sense, once the digital gateway for luxury's next generation, hit a wall in August 2025. The Montreal-based e-commerce giant, known for launching indie designers and stocking everything from Balenciaga to obscure Japanese labels, filed for protection under Canada's Companies Creditors Arrangement Act. For years, Sense was the secret weapon for emerging brands desperate for global reach, handling distribution, marketing, and even storytelling. But when the luxury market tightened, even the biggest online players were not immune. The filing revealed a scramble behind the scenes. Sense secured debtor-in-possession financing just to keep the website running and pay its suppliers. For hundreds of up-and-coming labels, this was more than a retailer in trouble. It was a lifeline gone dark. Designers who depended on Sense for their first international sales faced canceled orders and frozen payments. The collapse sent shockwaves through the luxury sector, exposing just how fragile the distribution network had become. When a platform this central falters, it is not just one business at risk. The entire ecosystem, brands, suppliers, even consumers feels the tremor. Sense's bankruptcy did not just signal another brand in distress, it showed that the very infrastructure of luxury retail was now cracking under the pressure of a market that had lost its appetite for overpriced exclusivity. New Guards Group, the creative powerhouse behind brands like Palm Angels and Ambush, entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy in November 2024. The bankruptcy filing sent a jolt through the industry, and the aftershocks proved even more destructive. Authentic Brands Group, one of New Guards Group's most important partners, immediately pulled the plug on their Reebok distribution deal and filed a claim for nearly $300 million in unpaid royalties. That single move exposed the scale of New Guards Group's financial obligations, and it set off a chain reaction. Within weeks, other partners began terminating agreements, unwilling to risk being left behind in the fallout. For a company built on licensing, creative collaborations, and a web of brand partnerships, the exodus was catastrophic. Contracts unraveled, product launches were shelved, and the group's reputation for reliability evaporated almost overnight. The bankruptcy did not just threaten New Guards Group's own brands, it infected the entire supply chain, putting designers, manufacturers, and retailers on edge. The speed of the partner departures made clear that, in the luxury world, trust is as valuable as cash. Once trust is gone, even the most promising creative platform can become a cautionary tale, showing how quickly a business model built on licensing can collapse when creditors lose faith. Coach once looked destined for the same fate as its rivals, overexposed, discounted, and dismissed as yesterday's status symbol. But instead of doubling down on logo mania or chasing endless trends, the brand made a hard pivot. Starting in 2019, Coach began quietly pulling its bags out of outlet malls, closing underperforming stores, and reining in the flood of red-tagged inventory that had diluted its cachet. The company invested in storytelling around its heritage, highlighting the kind of American craftsmanship that had defined the brand in its earliest days. Rather than chasing the lowest common denominator, Coach launched premium lines like Coach Haute, focusing on limited editions and higher quality materials. This wasn't just a marketing shift. It was a structural overhaul designed to restore scarcity and rebuild trust with customers who had grown wary of perpetual sales. The results speak for themselves. While other brands watched their resale values crater, Coach's bags stabilized on the secondary market, with certain models even appreciating over time. The Tabby, once just another logo bag, became a cult favorite thanks to clever campaigns and tight distribution. Younger buyers who had once written off Coach as their mother's brand started paying attention again, not because of hype, but because the product felt authentic and worth the price. The company's willingness to shrink to survive, to prioritize brand health over short-term sales, proved that a luxury recovery isn't a fantasy. Coach's blueprint offers a lesson for the rest. Exclusivity, heritage, and quality can't be faked or mass-produced. Recovery is possible, but only for brands willing to do the hard work of making luxury feel rare and real again. Across all 15 brands, one truth stands out. Luxury is no longer about price tags or prestige. It is about authenticity and relevance. When brands ignore changing values and chase profits over purpose, even icons can fall. The collapse we are seeing is not about fashion, it is about trust. In luxury, the real value is meaning. Drop your thoughts below. What does luxury mean to you today?